Hello there, CSULA community. My name is Johann Almeida, and I am a candidate for the presidency of ASI. I'd like to share with you guys first something that my faith teaches me, which is that everything done without love is done in vain. I'd like you guys to know that I'm very passionate about student advocacy and about fighting for my campus and my school. So, if elected, I will not do anything in vain. My work will not be in vain, and it will be for you. I was born and raised in a ranch in Brazil. When I was 11, I moved to New York, where I went to an arts high school, and that was going to be my path for a while. I played all different kinds of instruments. Here's one. But then my mother, she worked for Lehman Brothers, which is an investment bank, and they went bankrupt. It was the largest bankruptcy in United States history, and 17,000 people lost their jobs in one day. My mother was one of them. I had to get an after-school job, and we went into welfare, and I began to ask why. And the more I looked into it, the more I realized that policy really affects whether or not someone can do extracurricular activities or if they have to work after school and whether or not you receive welfare checks. And that's when I started to drift away from music and really get interested in economics, which is my major, and politics, which is my minor. And when I came to school here in Cal State LA, I was hired by the California State Student Association my very first quarter here to lead the voter registration drive. And after that, I was appointed as Legislative Affairs Representative and then elected as Legislative Affairs Representative. In my time in that office, I started a lobby corps and a Legislative Affairs Committee that was not active, and I secured money in the budget for one trip to Sacramento per quarter. Last year, those trips led us to advocate very strongly for the DREAM Act, which passed and got signed into law. And the author, Assemblymember Gil Cedillo, who represents our school's district, every time he sees us now, he says, "You guys were the first one. You guys were the reason it got passed." And it's true. The CSU, the UC, and the community colleges really banded together to advocate for that bill. And it shows just how much political weight students can have. Here in the CSU, with our 440,000 students and over 1 million college students and their families and friends. This year we have some good stuff coming up in the legislature too, and we're trying to fight real hard. We just came back last month from a trip where we met with 30 different legislators about prioritizing higher education when they're choosing what budget cuts to make, and about passing the middle class scholarship, which would guarantee 2/3 tuition to anyone that makes $150,000 a year. Besides the Legislative Affairs Committee, which was my mandatory committee, I got involved in other committees in ASI, such as the Executive Committee and the Finance Committee, which really gave me an opportunity to understand the organization, and that showed me how I could use the organization to better the campus. One of the things that I want to do when elected president is actually an idea that I kind of stole from a friend of mine, Chris Bowen, who used to be campus affairs representative. He made a very good point that in schools like Oxford, they have such strong school spirit because they have intercollegiate rivalries, meaning the A&L college and the NSS college would be rivals in fun games, friendly rivalries that would increase involvement in the campus and ultimately increase retention and graduation rates. I also want to help build spirit by incentivizing clubs and orgs here on campus to have spirit-focused programming by creating a competition between them in which they entered an event into the competition. At the end of the year, ASI chooses which event had the most spirit, and they get awarded for that. I also want to prioritize fundraising for clubs and orgs by creating a program where we match the amount that clubs and orgs fundraise, and creating a program, well, and prioritizing them in the finance committee by putting them first in the agendas. Also, I really want to fight very hard for getting binding votes in administrative committees next year. In the Board of Trustees, which is the board that determines the tuition and many other things for the CSU system as a whole, we have a student vote that counts, that's binding. Here, we don't have student binding votes on important committees. I sat in the Student Fee Policy Advisory Committee with Hector Jacinto and former President Jeremy White, and together we voted against the student success fee, but because it's an advisory committee, it didn't matter. President Rosser was able to completely ignore the vote of the committee and completely ignore the vote of student government, which passed a resolution that I authored against the student success fee, and passed anyways. There's a bill right now, the Senate Bill 960, which would make the advisory committees binding committees. So the president wouldn't be able to just say, no, I'm going to ignore you, and he would have to adhere to the decisions of the committee. I want to advocate very hard for that next year. I also want to make sure that you guys, the students, are involved, whether it be voting in an election, whether it be joining a committee, or whether it be just telling a friend what ASI is. It's more than just a Scantron or Blue Book place. I really want to see a more involved campus, a campus where the commuter school mindset is demolished and a real community can develop. Remember to vote May 14th through the 16th. We had great turnout today, the very first day of voting. Let's keep up the momentum. And remember that your vote is your voice. You pay fees here in this campus, and you should use those fees and have your voice heard from those fees. Once again, my name is Johann Almeida, and I'm running for President of Student Government. Vote for me. Thank you very much.